Hello again and welcome to another 140k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a big thank you to Max Cummins for sending in these awesome pictures of his Mordian Iron Guard. These are some Victoria minis and they look absolutely fantastic. For those of you that aren't aware, go and check out Victoria Miniatures. They do some really cool alternative Imperial Guard stuff, similar to sort of Anvil Industries. And they're really good. They've been around for ages, and they do some absolutely fantastic Mordian stand-ins. And yeah, not too expensive. Yeah, just go and check them out. So thank you for sending these pictures in, Max. The colour scheme just really pops. Absolutely beautiful. You've done the Iron Guard proud there, mate. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, please post them on my Facebook page or email them to me, and you can find the details for both of those down in the description below. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Now, these miniatures, these pictures really inspired me to do a video because these are some beautiful Mordian Iron Guardsmen. And it made me realise that it's just such a shame the state that the Iron Guard are in at the moment. So for those of you that aren't aware, the Mordian regimental trait, you've got Cadian, you've got Kachan and a few others, and you've got Mordian Iron Guard. And their regimental trait is just useless. It's too restrictive. It doesn't add enough of a bonus. Yeah, it's not good. Essentially what it is, guys, is if you have your guys ranked up or you've got two vehicles near each other, I won't get into the exact rules, but if you've got your men formed up rank to rank and your vehicles shoulder to shoulder, then you get +1 leadership, and you also get to Overwatch on a 5+. Now, this trait actually used to be quite good, and it used to be a bit of a sleeper. You see, a lot of people used to think it was rubbish, but a lot of the top tier armies were combat armies. So having a faction that was pretty good at, which was you always had +1 leadership, which was nice, and then was kind of anti-meta with the 5+ Overwatch, was just really good. And it's thanks to factions like Mordian Iron Guard, which had a 5+ Overwatch, that things like the Angel's Wing, Flood Angels, was so prevalent because you needed a way to not, take Demartia cannons to the face on Overwatch on a 5+, and plasma. Having the, I used to have a tactic called the Mordian Melter Hedge, where you used to have every squad with a melter gun, like a las cannon, and when the enemy tried to charge in or multi-charge, they were going to get hit not only with a whole boatload of grenades and las guns, but also 2 or 3 melter guns or las cannons shots, which all they need to do is take a model off from a Sanguinary Guardian or kill a couple of Death Company, and you can seriously blunt that charge with what is essentially a sacrificial unit. So it used to be a really good trait. And then 9th edition came along, and now you can only Overwatch with 1 unit and it costs a command point. And for some factions that's great, but for other factions, like Guard, do you really want to spend 1 CP to Overwatch with 1 squad of Guardsmen? Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, the answer is no, which is, a shame. And the +1 leadership, so basically you get +1 leadership for being ranked up, which actually means the trait is worse than Brood Brothers for Gene Stealer Cult, because they always get +1 leadership, whether they're ranked up or spread out. So they're more tactically flexible. And they also then get access to unquestioning loyalty for Gene Stealer Cult characters. So they get a really good lookout Sir Rule, and they get +1 leadership all the time. So it's actually Mordian Iron Guard now can easily be argued to be worse than Brood Brothers. So what can we do to fix this? I know it's going to be like 2 fixing the rules videos in 1 week, you lucky ducks. But what can we do to fix this? Because it needs to be changed. Now, I have 2 ideas for this. One of them is normal and using examples of things that already exist within other factions of 40k. And one of them is a bit out there. It's a bit different. So it would be really cool for me to put both those ideas out there, and you tell me which one you prefer. And if you've got any other ideas of your own, please, of course, put them down in the comment section below. So idea number 1, the normie idea, is we take a look at what are the Mordian Iron Guard most famous for. First one is volleys of las gun fire. Okay, just volley after volley of lasgun fire. And the second one is unwavering discipline and always obeying orders, having lots and lots of orders. Okay? So how do we represent these three things? You know, giving a regiment 3 buffs is pretty big, so we'd have to make sure we didn't overdo it. The first one that you do is you give lasguns, and lasguns only, exploding 6s to hit. Okay, so if you roll a 6 to hit with a lasgun shot, you get 2 hits. Now, some of you will go, that's pretty crazy if you then combine it with first rank fire, second rank fire. And the answer is yes, it is pretty crazy. All right, you are going to have a lot of lasgun bolts, but then the balance side is that it's only affecting lasguns. Okay, it's not affecting anything else, not hotshot lasguns or anything like that. You can have las pistols as well if you really want to. But the point is that it's only buffing lasguns. And lasguns are considered to be quite weak. So giving them a thematic buff, but one which is if you're putting first rank fire, second rank fire across everywhere, is going to get you a lot of extra shots, is pretty good, right? It's pretty good. So that's one way of doing the buff. The second buff should be you get +1 leadership. Or you get to re-roll you always pass on like a 1 or a 2, something like that. Probably, you know, if you roll a failed leadership, you get to re-roll it again if you want to. Because the reason why I quite like the re-roll over the +1 leadership is because it's kind of funny because it fits in with another rule which already exists, which is the commissar rule, where you get to blow someone's brains out and they get to re-roll it. But there's a bit of a joke within the fluff for Mordian Iron Guards and commissars, which is that Mordian Iron Guard are actually a very boring post for commissars because they tend to do as they're told. And actually, a lot of the time, the Mordian Iron Guard start holding the commissar to account. So if you have a rule which is basically like the reroll morale rule that commissars can do, it kind of represents that these guys are as disciplined whether there's a commissar blowing one of their brains out or not. Okay, so they don't. You know, if you're going to keep that crappy commissar rule, then at least basically give it inbuilt to the Mordians. You know, that's the way I would look at it. So I've got 3 ideas. Or you have +1, or you have reroll, or you have they take leadership tests on a D3. Okay, that would be pretty good. So on a 1 or a 2, they always pass essentially, and then on a 4, 5, or 6, they start. You know, it starts being a bit different. But that would represent them being dead disciplined. And out of those 3 options, in terms of morale boosting ideas that kind of already exist, I would go for the third one. Okay, I just think that would be really, really effective. And the last thing, last but not least, they love obeying their orders. So I would they really, really rely on their officers. So I would have it so that a Mordian Iron Guard officer can issue an additional order. So a company commander could issue 3, and a platoon commander could issue 2. Now, all 3 of those buffs would be very powerful, but I would counter that powerfulness by keeping the Mordians have to be ranked up, which is what they currently have. Okay, that's how I would balance it. So you still have to be shoulder to shoulder. You can't spread out or anything like that. You still have to be all ranked up, but. And when you get down to like just one guy running around, then he is, of course he's going to be, not as brave and not as likely to pass orders and all the, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, that would be how I would do it. So you keep the ranking up thing, which is quite a significant problem, but not as much in 9th edition. But you give them 3 good buffs for it. Exploding shot lasguns, D3 morale, and the officers get +1 order. Okay, that's how I would do it. And then the reason I would do that way is it boosts the lasguns, which is a nice thematic boost, but isn't gonna, in a tournament setting, isn't gonna make a huge difference. The morale thing is big because it then means you can have, because right now Mordians don't benefit from commissars being around, but they now would benefit. They still benefit because they'd get the +1 leadership from the commissar, inspiring them. or the +2 from a Lord Commissar inspiring them. So it means you want to take Commissars with them. And it also means that the Commissar blowing that they're more likely to make the leadership test on a D3. You've got 2 chance, 1 to 2 is inspiring heroism, and they automatically pass. With a Commissar round, they're really like, you can blow a guy through, you've got 2 chances of getting that 1 to 2. It just fits. It means that the units work well alongside each other, and then of course having the extra order is nice. So that is one way of doing it, the normie way, and using things that already exist. The other way is a bit out there. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't fully formulated how I do this other way, but one thing that the Mordians are really famous for is they always obey orders. And one of the biggest advantages is that they will continue to fire, reload, and fire again until either they or the enemy are dead. And they will always carry out the last order they received, which is both a massive strength and a massive weakness. Okay, so the strength of it is that if the Mordians lose their officers, and they should fall back, they won't fall back. They will just keep firing until they're overrun. Okay, they'll keep fighting and dying, which is great. Why a lot of commanders will actually shove Mordians into a rearguard action, because they don't care if they all die, because they know that those Mordians are going to hold the enemy up for as long as possible. So how do we represent? But it's also a massive disadvantage, because if there's no way of getting an order through to the Mordians, then they won't change. They'll keep doing what they were doing. They've got no sort of initiative. So how do you represent this amazing ability but also crippling flaw? You have a rule where you can have some other special rules in there as well, but I don't really care. This is the main rule. When a Mordian Iron Guard squad receives an order for the first time, they will keep doing that order, and they don't need to be reordered the next turn until they receive a new order. So for example, if you tell your Mordian Iron Guard squad to first rank fire, second rank fire every single, on turn 1, they will do that every single turn until they receive a new order. Okay? If you tell your Mordian Iron Guard squad to move, they will keep moving until you give them a new order. So the advantage is that you will very quickly have your whole army pouring out shots. Okay? After turn 2, you could probably have every squad in your army just ordered, and it would be incredible. But the disadvantage is that if you start losing officers, or you don't bring enough officers to start tactically changing your plan, what if you really need to move that squad, but they're stuck on first rank fire, second rank fire? Sure, they're going to keep putting the damage output, but you might not make it to that objective. It's just crazy. Okay, so it'd be this really cool thing of you've got to, now obviously it could get difficult with tracking which squad's got which order. So one way you could have is you could use little tokens, they could be provided if you get different guard supplements or whatever. But one of the supplements could be, or one of the things that you can just make yourself, you just have little tokens or little cards, then you just put one next to each squad, and that's what order is with that squad. I know it's a bit wacky. It would probably be hard to keep track of. Probably wildly open to abuse, but I think it would be really, really cool and cinematic. Now, if I had to pick out of those two, the one that's just easier for people to get their heads around would just be the first option. But 9th edition is a complicated beast, and Games Workshop has kind of shown their desire to make more complicated rules in 9th edition. So you know what? It'd be kind of cool. I would be happy with both. Even if they weren't powerful, they'd just be better than what we have now. They'd just be better. So that would be the way that I would. Those are my sort of 2 ideas for fixing the Mordian Iron Guard. What do you guys think? What are your ideas? What do you think of the 2 ideas that I've put down? And do you have anything better? I'm not perfect with this. Really, really always open to hearing what you guys have to say, because some of you guys have some brilliant ideas, and I do try and incorporate them into my videos where I can. So thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.